Can Nils Lundkvist be trusted? Because the coaching staff doesn't seem to. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer 105.3 The Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. By the way, it is Spotify Wrapped season. Please feel free to share those with me on social media. If Locked On Stars is in your top 5, I love seeing those. And I really appreciate all you everydayers out there. You can follow me on Twitter, JoeyTheJet19, or on Locked On Stars. Either way, throw those out in the open, and I really appreciate all the support, because without you, this would not be a thing. So really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we got some good stuff today as the Dallas Stars take it on the Calgary Flames tonight, wrapping up that season series. Game 3 already, wrapping it up early just before the month of November ends. And we're going to talk about Nils Lundkvist, the dilemma with number 5, Lian Bichsel heading back to Sweden, and on Joe Pavelski, Captain America, and what he's done so far this season, because he just never slows down. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So the Nils Lundkvist dilemma, and this is my overarching question for the segment. Can Nils Lundkvist be trusted? And I asked this because it became sort of a buzz on Twitter last night, or a couple nights ago, when Nils Lundkvist only played 2 shifts in the third period. He took his last shift in the game around the 11:30 mark, right before the first TV timeout of the period. And we did not see Nils Lundkvist since, which is very, very intriguing. Of course, the Stars had to kill off a 5-on-3, but his last shift was after that. He does not get a ton of PK time. He doesn't get any. And then he gets some on the power play, of course, as he's the quarterback of that second unit. So it's really interesting and intriguing for a couple reasons. Of course, they were looking for Nils Lundkvist to make a big jump in his game. And when he came into training camp, everybody seemed to be pretty pleasantly surprised with his ability to be a bit stronger on the puck. He was a bit faster. And of course, the skill has always been there in his ability to create offense for himself. And I think early on in the year, you really saw those changes come to fruition in the earlier parts of the season. I think he's been having a very, very good year. That's my opinion. I think he's been just fine. They paired him with Lindell, of course, and now they've put him with the younger Harley. And I thought that pairing in general has been rather good. I've stated my thoughts on Nils Lundkvist over the past month or so too. I don't know if he's a top 4 defenseman, like a really, really good second pairing defenseman on a Stanley Cup champion team. That may be a bit harsh and a bit early to call, but he's played about now a full season in Dallas. He's played 80 games total. So we have a good idea of what he is so far. And of course, the Stars use a first-round pick on him. And, you would like to see him play in some of the situations that your Miro Heiskanens and your Ryan Suters are getting the majority of time. Of course, late in the game in a 1-goal contest, like we saw for the majority of Winnipeg before Sagan picked up his 7th of the season, Miro and Suter are going to play a ton. Miro is just going to play the most, no doubt about it. Of course, he's going to chew up a lot of those minutes. And so far this season, Lundkvist is averaging, I believe it's just under 12 minutes per game. He's playing the least out of all the defensemen. That could be completely wrong. Let me sure I get this right. Okay, 14.8. So under 15, minutes per game, which is the lowest of any Stars defenseman. And of course, part of that is he doesn't play on the PK, which is another ability that you would like a top 4 shutdown defenseman to have, and maybe he can grow into that. And part of it maybe is his size, and also they're going to trust Hakanpaa and Lindell. That's what it's going to be. They're trying to work Harley into that a little bit more, and I think they trust Harley at this point more than Lundkvist. And it's not to say he's having a terrible year. I think he's been okay. Look, Miro and Suter's pairing has been a little bit shaky and leaky here in the last 2 weeks or so. But they're not obviously going to say this, but the way they're deploying their D-men, it shows they do not have a ton of trust in Nils Lundkvist. And what? Part of it is, how do you know if you can trust him if you don't play him in these moments? And part of it is, does the coaching staff know something that we don't know? I think there's two sides of that question. And look, I'd rather have Miro and Harley out there with the final 3 minutes of the game than any other pairing for Dallas. That's who I would want out there for most of the time. And Suter's been good, okay? For much as crap as Suter gets, he's been just fine, I feel like, this season. Look, he's going to have his lapses. Everybody does. But I think those two are probably your stalwarts that you want to run with on most nights. And some of it is, it's the NBA kind of way of thinking too. Who cares if you're starting? Who's getting the minutes in the last 4 minutes of the game? And it's similar here, right? Who's going to get the final 2 minutes when you're trying to hold on to a 1-0 lead and trying to shut a game down? And Miro's going to get most of those minutes. I like Nils Lundkvist as a player, and I think he's had a good step in the right direction. So far, his expected goals forward is 12. His expected goals against is 10, which is actually the lowest of all defensemen. Actually, Harley's a little bit lower there, but he has a few games less. So I just thought it was interesting because, of course, he didn't play those final really 10 minutes of the hockey game, and people are a little bit intrigued on why this is and why he's not. And I've made the case. I think Nils is a good player, more of a fringe top 4 for me. And I don't know, maybe it's his lack of size that the Stars are worried about in some of those big moments. But I feel like he's been really good at using his size in order to, win puck battles in the corners more than he has been in past. Look, Miro's not a huge guy, but he's great with his stick. He's great with his skating ability, and he wins a lot of battles that way by just winning races to pucks and, out skilling you to some degree. And I think Lundkvist has held his own, but there's something there that's not quite adding up since he's playing the least out of all the Stars defensemen, which I think is a bit of a shame. Harley, for my money, is playing way too less too. I don't think Suter should be playing second most minutes. I know you pair him with Miro mostly. Harley needs to be getting those minutes. I don't think that there should be any question on that. And I'm a little bit higher on Suter than others, but I think it's it's time to start waning down his minutes, allow Harley and other guys to play bigger roles, and they want that. And that's going to be the progression. Look, Harley needs to be on your top pairing at some point. I don't know about this season, but in order for the Stars to, I think, really reach their peak at some point, Harley's going to be a big piece of this puzzle, along with Lian Bichsel, who, of course, we're going to touch on here in a few minutes, too. So I would love to know your thoughts on Nils Lundkvist. If you think he's going to be a really, really solid top 2 pairing in the Stars decor for years to come. I don't know if I'm quite there yet on Nils. We've seen 82 games of him. I like his ability to create chances for himself. I think he's been really good creating for others. He has 7 assists this year, and I think he's taken a step in the right direction. But look, I don't think he's a Harley, and I'm really high on Harley. I think his ceiling is really, really high. And I don't think Nils is up there, and because I kind of put Harley in sort of the realm of Heiskanen. He's not quite there, but Nils I don't think he's there. He's been valuable on the power play. He's been good on the second unit, which has been arguably better than the first. I don't even know if arguably you can argue that. They have been. He's got 4 power play goals, on that second unit and 7 assists this season, just averaging under 15 minutes per game, a plus 1.2 rating according to Hockey Stat Cards. So, he's got a good rating, and I think he's been pretty good. I just don't know if they're going to give him those minutes, the butt clenching moments of hockey games. And I think they're right to do so. You're going to side with veterans that have played in those situations before and get the job done on most nights. And whether you hate it or not, Suter's going to be out there more times than not. And of course, Heiskanen's going to be out there and much deserving. So you're going to have 4 in somebody else. I would like to see Harley a bit out there more, but it's just intriguing because, Hanley steps in and does a really great job too. And, I've seen the take, like, you might as well play Hanley if you're not going to play Lundkvist. And I think that's a bit overreacting, but look, DeBoar's going to trot out there who he thinks is going to get the job done. And Nils is just really not one of those guys yet. And he has to probably do a bit more to prove that. And we'll see if he can continue that. But he's played almost a full season now in Dallas, 80 games. We'll play game 81 tonight. And, I'm not terribly concerned on the matter, right? If he keeps improving and we see progression, I think that's a good sign. And as long as he keeps moving forward, I'm going to take that. Look, I don't think Nils is going to take your breath away on most nights. I just don't think that's his level. His ceiling's a little bit smaller or a little bit lower than I think a Miro or Thomas Harley. But I would love to hear your thoughts on Nils Lundkvist too and what he brings to the table. I thought he's had a pretty good year. Doesn't mean he needs to be playing in all situations, even though they've given him a bit bigger of a role. Speaking of a big role in the future, Lian Bichsel, of course, the young, talented prospect, just 19 years old, playing with Texas. He's actually playing in his final game last night before he heads back to Sweden, which made a little bit of buzz on Tuesday night that he exercised in his contract. Let's touch on Lian Bichsel and, of course, the Texas Stars in general, who have been off to a great start this season, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with giving you peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show total up front, so you know you're just getting a great deal without those hidden fees, and you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. We've all been there trying to look for last-minute tickets, and you get some. You go to the arena or the ballpark, and the next thing you know, there's a pole in your way, there's a railing. I wouldn't have bought these if I had known, and that's what's so great about Game Time. They allow you to see your ticket and your seat before you even purchase it. It takes all the guesswork out if you buy tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So this created some buzz here on Tuesday night, I believe right at puck drop kind of, with Lian Bichsel confirming, or I should say it came out that he was heading back to Sweden, and the Dallas Stars confirmed that here yesterday morning. So I wanted to relay some of that information. Saad Yousef with The Athletic, of course, who covers the Stars, had an interview with Jim Nill, and I thought he laid out some great things as well on the situation, because I feel like it caught some people by surprise. It caught most of us by surprise, but he's elected to go back to Sweden. And this was always a clause in his contract that he would be allowed to do this. And at just 19 years old, it's his first full season in North America, and the Stars knew this could be a possibility. Of course, they would rather him be in Texas, but the style of North American play is a bit different. Back overseas, the ice is a bit bigger. The game slows down a bit and certain things like that. And also, it's his first year in North America. He still is 19, and he can play closer to home one last time. And you still have World Juniors here over the holidays. That's a possibility for him too. But he's had a great season. And this is comes from a piece from Sean Shapiro, of course, who does great work too. And he said that he's been averaging just over 21 minutes per game. He's winning his puck battles, and he's getting time on the PK and power play. And of course, this is a big guy that a lot of people have a lot of intrigue on, including myself. He's Hakanpaa size-wise, and he looks to be really, really skillful. This is probably a gross generalization, but this could be like a Victor Hedman type kind of guy, right? With a big size and maybe that offensive ability. And look, that's probably a huge stretch, and I'm not putting these expectations on him, but that's the type of feeling that you might be able to get out of somebody like Bichsel. And I thought Jim Nill, of course, had an interview with Saad Yousef on an article on The Athletic, and I want to read some of those to you as well, some of his quotes, because it's some good stuff. Neil said that Lian's expectations, or Lian's exceeded our expectation. He came over late in August, coming off a broken ankle, so we didn't know where he was going to be health-wise, and then where he was at in his development phase. He came into training camp. He exceeded our expectations, played very well, played in a lot of exhibition games, and his game got better and better. He started the year in Texas and played well. His development path is on trajectory, and we're happy with where he's at, which is a great sign. And he also noted that it's the big picture. He seems to have a good head on himself too. Neil kind of addressed that he understands what type of player he is, and he thinks going back to Europe is best for his development. And Neil mentioned that it's bigger ice. You can work on your skill a bit more. And, Jim Nill seemed to be okay with that fact. He agreed. And he said they've had great conversations, and he's really close to the NHL, which is an even great sign. They're basically saying that he's knocking on the door. And kind of tying in the Nils Lundkvist dilemma, if they don't really trust him, or they don't think that his game is trending in the direction they would like, then man, Lian Bichsel might have a huge opportunity. Of course, he's going to join Texas after the season in Sweden. I believe the year ends at March 16th. For Rogel is a team he's playing for. So he'll come back over at the end of the season. And he'll still have a shot in the NHL, of course, just a different route. Klingberg had a clause on his contract that was the same thing that he exercised. Miro did as well. Of course, he did not use it, but these are pretty common, by the way. So no reason to panic, I would say, by any means. And he's on track, right? And I think he's going to be really, really great. And that's what's so great about it. Look, and I've seen the argument too. He's 19. His first time in North America. It's a bit different, and in the AHL, you're playing almost every day, right? It's a lot more games than you're practicing. So your development, it can be a little bit different because you're just playing so much. You're constantly, on a bus and kind of grind the AHL life. So this way he's able to go back, and he's going to a good program too, with guys that have had NHL experience and understand the game. So he's going to be in good hands. And the Texas Stars, of course, are going to miss him since, the first place in the Central Division. They've been having a great year, 21 points atop of the Central Division. And of course, Logan Stankoven has been lighting it up along with Maverick Bourque. And we've talked about that so much, but both of those guys are having incredible years. And it's great to see that Stankoven is really, really panning out. And of course, Bourque, who is in his second season, has found a nice little home with him. They're both among the top in scoring in all of the AHL. This is not just rookies or on the Texas Stars. Both have 23 points, or I should say Bourque has 23 points, Stankoven with 22, and they're only being beat by Johnny Brodzinski, who's had actually quite a bit of NHL time. So good stuff from the farm team. And I'm actually recording this during the game. So it's 3-0 right now up on San Diego. So the Texas Stars are off and running here. We'll have to check the scoring here. I would love to see who scored, because I bet Stankoven is on the score sheet. And what would you know? It looks like Stankoven did score. Bork with an assist. He's got 2 points on the night already. So they're both already hitting the score sheet. No surprise as we record this currently. So good stuff all the way around. But I want to relay some of that information about Lian Bichsel. Man, I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be such a good player, and it looks like he's going to bring a big presence and play a big role for the Dallas Stars in years to come. This D-corps needs some tuning, I should say, some fine tuning, and they might have to do that away from the team, but they've also had some good options internally, which is always a great sign. Let's go ahead and speak on Joe freaking Pavelski, man. Captain America, an incredible year he's having. And I have a few nuggets I want to share with you guys as well. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So Joe Pavelski is the first Dallas Star this season to reach double digits in goals. He's the first Dallas Star to reach the 20 point mark as well. That tells you how good of a season he's having. 10 goals and 10 assists for Mr. Joe Pavelski in his first 20 games. And look, Father Time is never going to catch up to Joe Pavelski at 39 years old. And it's just so impressive what he's doing. And he's been doing it in just all strengths this season too. 5-on-5, the power play. He's got 4 power play goals, 2 assists. He's been great in that department too. He's almost leading the way in shots on goal too. He just trails Jason Robertson, who has 3 more. So, you know, Joe's really just done such a great job at adapting his game. And of course, we understand the amount of time he puts in and the way he goes about his business, showing up to practice early, his work in front of the net, easily the best net front presence in the league with his ability to tip pucks and just find ways to be effective. And this is, you know, as he's losing a step, which is even more remarkable. And just taking a look at some of the numbers here for Joe and some of, you know, playing almost 16 minutes a night. His expected goals forward is 10.5. He has a game score of just above 1, which is 3rd highest on the team. And you know, at sometimes he's kind of the Rock, right? He just stables everybody, and he stables his line. And sometimes when, especially this year, Robo's not quite off to the start he would like in terms of the goal scoring department. And I think having Joe with him is so great. Look, Joe's been through everything possible as a player in the NHL. He understands the ebbs and flows. And I would love to share this little nugget for you too that I came across on Twitter. This came from Josh Clark. Joe Pavelski became the 5th player, this is last year in NHL history, with consecutive 75-plus point seasons at age 35 or older. The other 4, Gordie Howe, Bellevue, Buke, and Oates, they are all Hall of Famers. And of course, he's at 20 points in his first 20 games this season. And the one thing that's even kind of more mind-boggling since he's come over to Dallas is, he's led them in scoring. at some points. He really had that slow start when he first came over, and then in the bubble, he just took off, right? Then he had 51 points in that weird season, and then he's at 81 in 77 in the past two. And even as he's been getting older, he's been more available, which is even something that's a bit shocking. You think he'd become a bit more fragile, not have that opportunity, but he played all 82 the past 2 years, and he's really cashed in. He's just been a couple shy of 30 goals both seasons too. He had 27 in 21-22, 28 and 22-23. And he's off to a great pace here in his, in the first quarter of the season. So he's on pace to almost get 40 or a bit more than 40. And I would not put it past him by any means. And I think it's just so remarkable. And the Stars are so lucky to have him. And of course, he still has that burning hunger to win a Stanley Cup. And he's hoping this is the season. So a big shout out to Joe Pavelski and what he's been doing this year. Just continues to be a driving force for Dallas. He's kind of the heart and soul, it feels like, right? He just has that presence, and he's a huge leader. And you can never underestimate how much of a presence he is in that locker room. For the younger guys, of course, like Johnston, Robo too, and Rope. You could not have a better person in your locker room, and for guys to kind of get some osmosis through, have some of that luck kind of rub off on you. Look, this is a guy that was a late round pick. He wasn't big, doesn't have a lot of flash, and he's made quite the illustrious career out of it. And he just has one more notch on the belt he has to get. And maybe that comes in the next few years or this year, which would be even more freaking cool. All righty, Stars fans, Dallas and Calgary wrapping up their season series tonight. Stars won the first matchup on the road. Calgary got revenge just a few nights ago, of course, put a thumping on the Stars 7-4. Should be a great one in the Saddle Dome. Let's see if Jake Ottinger goes. I would think he's been an owner of the Flames in that building, and we will see. Should be a great contest to wrap up the mini 2-game road trip as the Stars trying to get back into first place in the Central Division. Be sure, follow me on the Twitter thing, JoeyTheJet19. Please share with me your Spotify Wraps or Apple. I think they do the same. If Locked On Stars is part of your top 5, would love to see those. Appreciate all you everydayers out there. That's going to wrap it up today. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I'll have a reaction, of course, tonight, and we'll break it down tomorrow. Hopefully a Stars win. And for now, so long, Stars fans.